Okay, so yeah, plugging in jQuery to your project. Again, it's not important that we completely understand jQuery and how it works in order to get this section to work. I'm not going to test you guys on jQuery. This is just to set up click events. And really what we're using jQuery to do is to change the class of an element, right? Because we're going to write a CSS class that is not active on an HTML element. So we're not writing that class into our HTML element when it loads, right? We're using jQuery to put that class, to write that class into it when we click a button. Does that make sense? Right? So right now, that class is going to be used to transition the slides, to make the left-hand slide scale down and make the right-hand slide over. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So let's make a folder. Oh, not inside of CSS. Just make it inside of your root. I usually just call it JS, and then inside JS, I make it make one. We'll just call this a lot of times you'll just see like script.js, which is like a really generic default name. But we could call this like clickers.js. All right, clickers.js. Can open that up. I sometimes will drop it down here. Actually, I'm going to drop it. Yeah, I'll leave it right there for now, because we're only going to put a few lines of JS in there. But then we need to link to JavaScript or jQuery. Now the problem with this that we're probably going to run into is in our browser. It's because we're working locally. Nothing is hosted on the internet right now. We're just interpreting these pages on our machine. It's going to throw up a CORS exception, and a CORS exception. CORS exception is a cross-origin resource sharing. This is a security feature that browsers have now. A year ago, they didn't implement them universally. Now they do, and it keeps malicious files from being loaded. Like, so if you accidentally download something to your like a HTML website or something to your machine, and you open it up, it'll keep any JavaScript from that site that also came down with that site from being loaded. And that JavaScript is usually what will cause problems on your machine. That's what injects viruses and all that other crap. So it's useful, but it's also frustrating because now it's like, well, all right, we can't, we might not be able to develop locally as effectively. So there's a couple ways around that. But first, we need to run out and grab jQuery. So you can do a CDN, or you can download it and include it in your site. If you download it and include it in your site, this is essentially like a library. This is a plugin. This is we call them dependencies, right? In order to get jQuery to work, your browser needs to know what jQuery is. And your browser doesn't know what jQuery is by itself. It has to be told, right? And that's in order to make sure that jQuery can stay standard and be updated constantly. So we're going to try it with the CDN and see if that works. And let's see. Not going to give me a link to it. Does it want me to just download it now? Huh. Yeah. All right. So Google has a CDN for jQuery. jQuery has their own CDN. I just don't know why. Just reference the file and the script tag directly from the jQuery CDN domain. You can get the complete script tag, including. Oh, I see. Okay. So this is just to keep it standard. So all we're going to do is just right-click on this, hit copy link location. I'm doing the minified one. The minified one is one where all of the white spaces, all the spaces, have been taken out of the file. All right. The browser can still understand it, but it's not human readable really anymore. Does that make sense? Like the compressed, like if we look at the uncompressed one. Oh, okay, that's nice. It just gives us the script that we need. Code integration. Oh, that's really nice. Okay, well, I'll show you guys here in a second. So we're going to use this one. But anyway, minified just means it's been made smaller. And usually you can tell it's minified because it's got a .min.js in there. All right. It makes the file a little bit smaller because white space does take up memory, a little bit of memory. So it's just a little bit more efficient. So we're going to stick this in our HTML, just like you would load like a CSS or our fonts, except that we're going to stick it at the bottom and stick it inside, like right before the last body tag. The reason that you stick scripts at the bottom is so that your page and all of its relevant CSS will load, and then the script loads, and so it feels like the page is loading faster. It's a trick to make the page seem like it loads faster, because once the page loads and the styles load, the user has to orient themselves on the page, right? They have to take a second to take the whole page in and decide what they want to do, and during that time that they're doing that, the browser will then load the scripts. Does that make sense? If you put the scripts at the beginning, the scripts will load before the styles and the HTML load, and so the user will be confronted with a blank page, and it'll feel like the site is loading slower. The site loads the same speed regardless of where you put it, but the perception is that it goes faster when you stick the script at the end. Does that make sense to everybody? I know it's a really exciting nerd thing, but I like it. It's just perception, right? You're trying to make it seem like it goes faster. So I'm loading it at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and reload the page and see if it's going to throw a CORS exception. It did not. Okay, well, that's good. All right, I was worried it would. Okay, so CORS exception didn't load, or didn't throw a CORS exception, which is great. After that script, which let's make sure we are indenting correctly. Okay. All right. Then we're going to load, then we need to point our HTML at the script that we're going to write. All right, so clickers dot, oh, let's do that then. Source, script source. So this is just going to be clickers. Now this is going to be empty. We're not actually writing a script in our HTML. We're just pointing at the source. So clickers.js. Don't forget to do the right file path. Go out of pages, go into JS, and load clickers.js. Does that make sense, everybody? Yeah? Is this like old hat for most of you? Have you guys done this kind of stuff already? No? Brian? Yeah. For you probably have you? Have you done jQuery? Oh. Amanda, have you done any jQuery? Oh, okay. But have you guys linked to like a JavaScript? Okay, so you've done JavaScript on the web. Okay, jQuery is the same thing. jQuery is just literally JavaScript query. It's a library for wrapping common functions, JavaScript functions. So if you have things that you want to do all the time, instead of having to write that JavaScript out each time, you have a library like jQuery that just has all that stuff built into it. So you can call something like .draggable, and that just calls a JavaScript function called draggable. And if you open up if you download the source, the jQuery 331.js, and look at it, you'll find it's all JavaScript, and you'll find that function in there. Does that make sense? Yeah? There's nothing magical or mystical about jQuery. It's just more efficient and easier to use than writing the JavaScript out each time. All right. The other thing about jQuery is we need to make sure the document is ready. So one of the ways we do that, if you have Emmet will let you write this. Oops. Right, doc. You'll see this document.ready. Hit enter. So this $sign is just a symbol that means jQuery. So it's saying jQuery document, and that's saying look at the HTML. Whenever you see the word document, it refers to the HTML file. Okay. Then it's saying, okay, ready. Wait for it to get ready. So wait for it to load, everything to load, and then do all the stuff that I put inside of this function. And this is where we write, this is where we'll copy paste our jQuery. Does that make sense? From Travis's stuff. So that's where we're going to write it. All right. Okay, let's ignore that for now. And we got our hover for our butthead div. And let's kind of take a look at what we need to do then. So I'm going to go back and look at, just going to keep, let's just stay in one browser here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to ignore the JS for the moment, and let's just make sure that we set up our slider correctly. It's going to slide. So the only thing I want to make sure we do correct. Example 1 is transition. So this is the bit that we are going to be. Oh yeah, this is all in Sass. Let's look at it as compiled. Verb.sub, verb.title, got all that. Belt, we did that part. State, we did all that. We're just looking for our transition stuff. I think we wrote all that in last time. So state 1 transition, example 1 button has a transition, which I think we did. The hover, we did the hover transition. That's that pop-up. All right, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for these two things here, because this is what's doing all the magic. This example 1 is transition. This is what we're using jQuery to inject. We're using jQuery to inject the is transition class onto example 1, which is then going to it's going to change the transform setting to translate x negative 50%, which is going to move it to the left 50%, which is half, right? So it's going to move that slide over. That's example 1. So it's going to move this state 1 slide. The whole belt is going to move, and then state 1 is going to scale down to 30% of its size and then rotate negative 90 degrees, which is going to make it go like that. And that's what scales down. Does that make sense to everybody? The rest is example 2 stuff. All right, let's put this in there. I'm going to go ahead and just copy it. I'm going to dump it in here. And then adjust it because my class names are different. All right, is transitioned dot belt state 1. All right, and let's go back and double check and look at it again. Make sure we have everything that we need. The button, state 2. I don't know that I have any state 2 stuff, do I? Input, different apple butthead, input. Okay. So let's grab our state 2 stuff. All right. So I'm going to turn off overflow while we're styling. It's our overflow. There we go. I'm going to change this. Actually, don't change it. Just comment it out for the moment so that when we come back to our page, we can see exactly what everything looks like on our page. All right, so that's what we have going on for state 2. I haven't styled state 2 yet. I need to move everything over and do all my state 2 styling. Does that make sense, though? Kind of like what this is? Okay, good. All right, so we need to style our state 2. So I'm going to come down. Let's actually just close that for now. So it's going to get sizing from that. So it's getting started from example 1, which is fine, just that part. We want to have all of these things too. So I'm going to go dot, except for the color. Okay, so I'm just going to copy these. Because I want all that, I just want different colors. I'm going to stick it here. Oops. Let's go on dot example 1, state 2. All right. So that gets it moved over where we want it, and then just pick a different color for it, a background color. All right, so it's going off of that red. Well, let's do maybe a green. Actually, let's find that red and then we'll plug that red in. Now I can't plug that red in. I don't know, I think this is gonna look weird, but we'll deal with it. We'll see what it looks like. It's too green. Maybe we'll just go blue. All right. Okay, cool. Seems a little big. No, it's fine. Okay. All right, so let's turn off. Oh, we need to do our button. State 2, example 1 input, example 1 dot button. Oh, is he doing that? Oh, interesting. I think he's giving the same styling to the button. Let's take a look. Oh, he is. Okay. Div class button. Example 1 dot button. So state 2. Oh, I called that butthead. That's fine. Okay. Give it the same styling. See what it looks like. Hey, it broke it. How did that break that? Yeah, that's should have been okay. Just call it button. No, that okay. It's breaking it for some reason. All right, we'll just style it. Uh-oh, kept breaking things here. Okay. All right, don't try to change your stuff after you've already done it. All right, so style 2, state 2 button. Okay, let's do that. Let's just do that. Did I have like a state 1 button? Is that why? I'll just write it out. Okay, example 1, state class state 2 class button. All right. So I'm going to take a lot of these same styles because I want it to look a lot like this one. So div class butthead. So I'm not sure. Oh, because it's an input, not a div. Why did I make it an input? That's why it broke. Okay. Now it should look the same. That was my problem. There we go. And now it has the same animation. All right, I just gave it the same class. It behaves the same as these two buttons. It just has a different text. Does that make sense to everybody? What I just did, or did everybody blank off while I was figuring that out? Blank out. Okay. I know this is slow. I'm sorry, and it's boring. I apologize. I don't know how else to show this to you guys. Like, you could work through the videos yourself, but I feel like you would get lost. Like, is this clearer than you guys doing the videos on your own? Okay, yeah, good. If you have questions while I'm doing this, feel free to shout out. that's also fine. Like if you get kind of lost with something, also say something, because then it shows up on the recording, which is always good and useful for everybody. Okay, and I'll try to remember to rephrase it so that the recording picks it up. All right, let's hide that now that we have got it styled the way we want it to. Oops. All right. All right. Let's hide it again. Now it's hidden. Yay. Got our button. We don't have our jQuery hooked up yet. We do have it loaded, but we haven't written our function yet. Okay. So really for this, I'm totally okay with you just copying his jQuery code. It's not going to be any different. I'm going to put it in there, and then we're going to talk about what it's actually, what it's doing. You'll notice on his, he doesn't have the document ready function. It's because CodePen automatically does it, which I think is bad, because it doesn't teach you the right way to do it. Right? If you're like trying to dissect someone else's CodePen example, then you may not be like, oh, I need the document ready. Right? You may just paste that in there and be like, why is this not working? Because it won't work, or at least it shouldn't work. But you do need the document ready. Okay, so let's talk about this real quick. All right, so jQuery. Look at the document, wait for it to be ready, and then do the function stuff. This is what this is saying. It's saying, hey jQuery, grab the element that has the class example1 and .button1, which we need to change that because I called mine different. And then .button, which I think we need to make this butthead. And then if there's a click on it, so listen for clicks, that's what this .click means, then on this thing that we've looked at, that we're looking for, that we're now laser focused on, any parents of it, if that parent is example1, toggle the class of that parent to is transitioned, which just means add that class. Okay, does that make sense? And the toggle means is if it's not there, add it. If it's there, take it off. That's what toggle does. Toggle combines two other jQuery functions, add class and remove class. Okie doke. It's a switch. It's literally an up and down switch, as opposed to a separate on switch, separate off switch. Because there's times where you just want the on, and there's times where you just want the off. And there's other times where you want to go back and forth. Cool? All right. Let's make sure that all my classes, yeah, example1. Who's calling you?
830.
Did you vote yesterday? What is 830? You can just click the side of it. Is it your laptop making that? It's Texas, San Antonio. Know anybody in Texas?
No.
Yeah, it's probably a random call center. Pay your bills. That's what mine are. Yeah, right.
It's not your credit card.
Yeah, just enter your credit card after the beep. It's purely for incidentals and insurance. Honest. All right. Do I have everything saved? Okay, everything's saved. Everything's saved. All right, moment of truth. We're going to refresh the page. Check your console. Ooh, no errors. Click on this. Boom. Works. Magic.
So how do you make it back?
Click back.
Oh.
Because it's toggling, so it just does it in reverse. Yeah, when it takes it off, it transitions back to its original state. That's the nice thing. That's the like wonderful thing about transition. When transition is just looking for changes in the characteristics between classes, like or between settings, essentially, right? It's just looking for those changes, and usually how you trigger it is either through a hover, which is what we're doing when we have the bounce, right? And notice that it transitions back automatically, right? Because in the hover state, we've changed some settings on it, and now when the hover state is not active anymore, it goes back to the original settings. But that transition just controls how it goes back, and that's where we get the like really lovely physical feeling kinds of effects. You know, it's all about like animation is all about controlling that transition. In normal kind of like movie animation, you know, TV animation kind of stuff, those transitions between keyframes, which is what we're doing, we're setting up keyframes. We're setting a initial state and the state we want to get to, right? In traditional animation, you'll have lots of those keyframes. Like a walking animation, there's lots of those keyframes, right? And then they call the transitions in-betweens, or tweening, essentially. And what you're doing is you're figuring out how to get from state 1 to state 2 to state 3. You're figuring out all those intermediate frames, because they were working off of frame rate, right? Like, so if you had 24 frames per second, which is film, then you had, like in your walk animation, like one part of it took a second, then you would have to, you'd have like the main animators that would draw the first state and the second state, and then you'd have like the apprentices and the students that would draw the in-betweens. They would do all the tweening. But the magic happens in those tweening, in that tweening. That's why like Bugs Bunny animation is amazing, because they didn't have just like apprentices working on their tweens. They had, I mean, the people that did the keyframes also did the tweens. You know, like they were anal about it, and it looks really, really good. Disney was the same way. Like early Disney films, when they had just like anybody doing tweening, like Snow White, it's bad. When you go back and watch it now, you're like, oh, you know, what are they doing here? It's not as bad as like some Don Bluth films, but you know, it's bad. But the same principles apply, right? So we set up states, and then we just tell it to transition. But all that magic, like what you need to focus on, is how that transition feels. Okay. All right. So so really, that's how we're going to control our animations. You can pick out. I'm totally fine with you grabbing his jQuery code. Just make sure that your class names, like whatever he's calling things down here, is what you've called things, or that you edit it to match, right? Because otherwise, it's not going to be able to find it. Okay. So the jQuery is looking at your HTML and is plugging in class names for the HTML. The CSS is where all of your transitions and your transforms, the things that you want to change, like if you want to move stuff around, that's where that goes. Okie doke. Do you guys feel like you have enough to kind of go out on your own now and start piecing these together? Yeah? I'm gonna do the next one like while you guys are working as well. Okay. I'm just not gonna sit and talk about it the whole time or record it, I guess. I could still record it, I suppose. Just makes for a long video for you guys to watch. Or jump around on. I don't know. Does anybody actually look at those videos? Okay. I don't check my metrics, so I have no idea. I should start like putting ads on them or something. Oh, I got 1/10 of a penny today. Yay. Okay, does that make sense for everybody? Yeah? Sweet. All right. All right, so feel free to work on your own. I am going to move on to the next one, this functional change one. Just kind of looking at these. This one's going to be interesting. Actually, that one's pretty easy to do. Oh, those are just delayed. I don't know that that is actually triggered by a mouse over. However, huh, that's nice. Does it drop down and then go? Yeah, it does. Look at that. See that little drop down before it launches up? It's great because it's like getting ready. You know, that's that like that pullback you do when you throw something, right? It's like, why do you do that in this? There's no mass here, right? But it's because we have grown up, we've developed as a species inside of a gravity well, and so we expect momentum. You know, when we see things move, we expect some sort of weight and mass to them, and it feels better to us when it looks that way. Maybe in like a million years when we've become space babies, we won't need that anymore. When we're posting to Facebook, it won't actually like animate or toggle or whatever. It'll still be called Facebook in a million years too. Like this one will be pretty easy. That's not triggered by anything in particular. So okay, so I'm gonna work on this one. I think this is gonna be one of the harder ones, but I have no idea. I haven't looked at it yet. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna piece that one together. That's our next one. While you guys are working. So yeah, feel free to work on your own now. And then if you have questions, I'll come around and help you out.
So for graphic, it's gonna move these or the cover.
The hover.
The hover nav.
Oh, right. Let's double check. You'd think I'd know that off the top of my head. When did I have this due? On Monday? Oof. Class. So this first part, I mean, it's going to be all of it. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take the second part off. Well, actually, I'm going to change the second part. So I want you to just build the ones from the dev tip video number 4. Right? And we can not watch 5 through 8 yet. The reason for that is like all of these are from just video 4. Okay, and I feel like this is enough to chew on right now. So what we might end up doing, not the calculator, what we might end up doing is, all right, this is final? No, this is finals week. This is dead week. This is Thanksgiving. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to change the date. On the 14th is when I want you guys to have these 6 animations done, plus the 2 menus that we did already, the 2 navs. Okay, so just a reminder of those navs. It's like these navs, right? I need to come in and clean this up, but these navs, so that this, you have at least one that doesn't do a drop down. Okay, that's just a regular nav like this, and one that does do a drop down. Okay, and then I was talking about doing these because we're gonna use. I'm gonna show you a little bit of jQuery to inject these on all your pages for this site. So what we'll end up doing is making this the nav for your site. Like you'll have 2 different nav kinds that you can play with for your site. Does that make sense? It'll make sense when I show you guys how to do it. Just have them done on one page for next Wednesday. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys an extra day to work on. Yeah, these should both just be on one page. Okay, so you need this, and then nope. Here we go. Then you need a page that has the 6 important things to animate. All right. Now this is the thing that's going to take you the longest, but in my opinion, what will take you the longest is making the very first one, right? And maybe the second one, but they all use the same structure. So you just have to copy that structure and then change where you need to change it. Makes sense, right? So you're just changing the middle parts of it, but in terms of like the overall design, just copy it, change your class names, give it different colors, that kind of a thing. You can affect, you know, I'll do one now, and you guys can, like, well, as you're working, we'll talk about like what's going on with it and stuff. And I'll show you a trick to like easily and quickly do this. Oh yeah, I'm not doing it in. Let's go back to here. So okay. All right. Yeah, we'll put it on the right. Okay. All right. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to like think of what to do here. All right. So slide 2. Renames functional change. Oh, it's because it has that menu at the top. That's right. We'll do something different for that. Blurb. So they all have the same blurb structure. Example structure. So yeah. Okay. Oops. So I'm gonna come in here. I'm going to grab my slide. This article. And make another one. I'm going to toggle my script. Maybe not. How do I toggle my script? That was weird. Okay. All right. So this is going to be slide, and then we'll call it slide 2. think that's because I made... So all the slide stuff has the same, article.slide. And everything else is like example 1 has the width, belt, the font family. Cool. All right. Blurbs and functional change. Question: what does the element do now? All right, this would be example 2. I don't think we're calling that belt. Switch. All right, I'm actually going to take... How did he do that? His colors are very different. Slide. Oh, I see. He's just doing colors via slide. Blurb. I just did it in the blurb, I think. Yeah, I did my colors in the blurb. So I'm going to take these colors out really quick. All right, so where he's changing his colors, using a pseudo class, right? And this, or pseudo selector. And the selector is called nth child, and it lets you pick the nth. Nth is just a placeholder for a number, right? It's a variable. You know, the first child, the second child, the third child, the fourth child, the fifth child, of whatever, right? Whatever parent. So he's targeting slide and saying, find slide.blurb, and for each of the children, change the colors to be different things. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say div.slide.blurb, nth child. Wait, is it just... I always forget. Slide. Oh, right. Slide nth child, then blurb. Nth child. Yeah, we'll do A and B for now, and then blurb. So select the different slides, and then affect blurb and give it a different color. Now he's just doing. Oh, he's just going down the numbers. Okay, cool. We're not doing any crazy math. The AN plus B would be like if you wanted to do every other, or every third, or every fourth, or any variation of that. So this little selector here, or this declaration block, just for each slide that we have, we paste it. We change the number, and then we change the color. So I'm going to make this a different color. He's doing some goofy teal thing. Teal is an abomination. Don't ever use it. I'm going to go with this, which I think is also going to look a little weird, but that's okay. Okay. Hey, and it broke. Oh, because I'm not doing my text. Why did that not work? Right, thank you. I need to take the, that's just the border. Okay, thanks. There we go. All right, thanks. So functional change, obviously that, like, there we go. Let's make that a little lighter. Okay, cool. So then we need to come in, and we don't need these inputs in here. I'm going to keep my state 1, state 2 for now until I see that. Oh, am I missing a div? I am. Look at that. Screwed that up, didn't I? Yeah. Maybe I just didn't copy it because I have it. Oh, I have it up here. I just didn't copy it. Okay. And I don't need that one. So I'm just going to leave these in. So you can see that you can use that very first one that we've written and figured out. We can use everything that's common with it, that it shares with all the others. We can just use that as a template, copy paste it, change what we need to without having to write it all out again. Right? Save yourself that time. I'm already on to doing the interactive part of, well, not for the CSS yet, I still got to do the HTML, but we're already at that point now, which is great, which is what took us, what, an hour and a half on Monday to get there. So, all right, come down, let's see how he's got it. He's got a class on, he's got a class off, he's got a handle. All that is inside of something called switch is transitioned. Oh, because it is transitioned? So what is he toggling? Well, let's just make it, we'll make it that way and then we'll toggle it and see what happens. So 3 classes. I'm just going to write this straight. Div, well, they have different class names, don't they? They do. Let's go div class on. Yeah, let's do this times 3. All right. Off. What was my third one? Handle. That doesn't have anything in it. Okay. So this is the basic structure we need, except we need a closing div. Okay. Scripts. Put a couple spaces in here. All right. Sometimes comments are good. Actually, comments are always good. I just am really bad about them. All right. So state 2, example 1, state 2. This is giving us color for it. Box shadow, yeah. Transition. All right, the Z index is what's important here. The Z index is controlling the layer order of elements on your page. Think Photoshop layers, right? Whatever layer in your layer window is at the top is the thing that is going to show up as on top of other things, right? So Z index, everything starts out at a default of 0, so on the same plane, right? Think sheets of paper stacked up. So everything starts at 0. When you go positive, you're going up, you're going towards the viewer, towards the glass, and whatever. And then if you go negative, you're going backwards. Okay, so this example 1, state 2. Oh wait, that's example 1. Sorry, my bad. Oh, I didn't even do that for example 1. I didn't add this. I didn't put the Z index on there. Nah, it's fine. It works anyway. Example 2 doesn't need it, but I'll explain it anyway. So with Z index, you're just controlling that layer order, and so anything that's 2 is going to be above and hide anything that's less than 2. All right. So anyway, example 2. So example 2, height 400, display flex. So there's some stuff that is going to be different. So it's mostly background color, it looks like. Width is the same. Oh, right, because of the belt. All right, yeah, we'll just stick it in here then. Example 1, state 2. Okay. Example 2. Example 2. And height, yeah, okay. That's what I did for mine. $25 grams. That's state 1. Yeah, we'll just keep your stuff consistent. Display flex, justify content center. Okay, everything's centered. Align items center. Justify content center. And then your background color, just whatever you want it to be. I'm gonna use the same color that I use for text, which is that 6ED5F1. All right. Sets up my field, which if you want to look at it, oh, it's backwards. Wait, where are we at? There we go. Oh, that's the wrong color. Oh, it's state 2. Oops. That doesn't look right. There we go. All right. Ugh. The purple is kind of disgusting, isn't it? It's desaturated a little bit. It's better. Yeah, it's better. Okay. I don't know why I get stuck on that kind of stuff. I'm really sorry. That'll drive me nuts if I don't do it right. Okay, let's style the switch. Oh, that's interesting. That makes sense. Okay. 100 pixels, border radius is 200 pixels. So it's a quarter of it. Okay. For speed, I'm going to switch. But I'm going to, well, I'm just going to change this to be a percentage so it stays relative. But it'll stay relative anyway. Let's make our background. Oh. So where's his background for that? Yeah. Oh, here it is, right here. Starts off as transition and then the toggle changes it. I gotcha. Okay. So there's our circle. That's by giving it this width of 100 pixels, so it makes it long, right? And then the height is being controlled by right here. Why he has them separated, I don't know. I always put them together. So height, so you know, it's twice as long as it is tall, and then he's rounding the corners 200 pixels, which gives it that nice little lozenge shape. Position relative, that's so we can move it around, take it out of the flow, and then overflow hidden. So if there's stuff that is underneath it, we'll hide it. Like so, that's why on and off right there are being hidden at the moment. Okay. So let's make circles. This is color white. 600. I don't think I have. Yeah, why are you guys not in the middle though? It's not centering my text for some reason. It's getting text while it's center. It's because I haven't given it a line height, maybe? Switch div. Pixels. Let's write this in rems. 16, 3.125 rems. 3.125 rems. And then, yeah, the rest of it's just what you want it to look like. Color, weight, weight. Okay, yeah, it was that line height. Oh, that looks a little off. No, it's the same. Okay. Looks like it needs to come up a tiny bit, but we'll deal with it. All right. So let's do our transition. Let's do those first. Example 2 dot switch dot on. No, well, yeah, I guess I drilled down into that and I didn't really need to. That's okay. Width is 50%. Copy that, paste it, change on to off. There we go, moves them around. So now they're both half, which is good. Although off looks a little off, but nope, that's 50%. Yeah, okay. That's good. Let's do the next part. Let's make that little circle. All right, so example 2, switch is transitioned to switch that's just the background color. Oh, it's that sort of bluish. All right, so let's pick a different background color then. It's a darker version of that purple. Yeah. So trick with your color plugin. Put your color where you want. Like if you want to base your new color off of a different color, put that color in that field. Hit Command, hit Command Shift C to bring up your color picker. It already knows it's a hex. It's going to show you what that color is, and if you pick a different color, it's going to show them next to each other, like this. So I want to pick a different purple, like a darker purple, for that background color. It's the switch that's transitioned. Oops. Okay, so now it has that background color. Screw that up. Okay. Switch to background, transform. We're not going to do the transforms yet. Okay, the handle. So the handle is this little circle thing. That's what we have to draw now. It's just all that. Okay. Where did I put my handle? Did I make that handle? Did make a handle. Okay. So div dot example 2 handle. So you're making it position absolute because you're going to be moving it with the animation properties, the transition properties. You're telling it where to be, so it's coming in 2. It's coming down 2 from the top and in 2 from the left, and it's 4 pixels smaller than the height of the container it's inside of, switch. So that'll give it that nice little border around it. And then we're giving it a box shadow that is just about half opacity. So there it is. Now we need to move it. So we're going to transition it. We just need that is so weird why there's so many transitions on here. Okay. Let's do these guys. don't need this extra WebKit transform anymore. We did at one point. Make sure all your indentation is correct. Ugh, not that background color. Oh, I already did that one, that's why. Let's stick it up there. Oops. JSON.handle. Okay. Moves it over. All right, now a little bit of JS. So when you're adding new lines of JS, make sure they are all inside of the document ready function. So you can just, like this is a nice little contained function. Our next one is going to be the same thing. It's just for example 2. Right? So you can come down to his example and grab it. Again, this is just saying find example 2, find switch, toggle the class is transitioned, which is something I have built in there. It's starting off transition, so the toggle is just going to turn it off if it's off, and turn it on if it's off. Turn it on if it's off, and off if it's on. So it's starting off as on, which means it starts off like this. Click on it, it does that. But notice the color changes before it has a chance to move over. So that is something we want to adjust and fix because, oh no, it's doing the same thing. So one thing you could do to fix that, yeah, no, this is easy actually. So I don't like that. That bothers me that you can still see the on there. So we're gonna change that. We're gonna fix it. So I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna make a class that we're gonna add to on and off. Yeah, okay, and we're gonna have a transition for it. So we're gonna say, we're gonna add this class called hide. So we'll say div.example2.hide. And then what we're going to do for this is we're going to say display none. Okay, we'll set display none. We're going to set a transition on here though, or actually, you know what? We'll set transitions on our switches. Set your transition on your switch because this is what we're transitioning. We're saying transition. Actually, we should do this. Dot on. Off. Display none. Example2 off on hide. Okay. This could be more efficient, but I think this is going to work the way we want it to right now. So this is saying look for the element that has both class off and class hide, and both has class on, class hide, and do display none. Now obviously on doesn't have that on it right now in the HTML because I want that one visible. I want off to be invisible. But then we need to stick our transitions inside of on. So we're going to say transition all. There's only one setting we're transitioning. I mean, you could easily just say display. Give a time, we'll say like 200 milliseconds. We want it to happen really fast. And that's all we have to do. We don't need you don't have to do a curve. You don't have to do an ease, or you could do linear if you wanted. It could just pop up. You could do ease out. I'm just going to do linear to start with. It'll default to linear if you leave that blank. All right, let's do this. Copy this and dump it on our off switch. Okay. Oh, and then what we need to do is add a line here that says this dot toggle class, and then we're going to say toggle class hide. Now you don't have to put the dot in. because it's already a class. It knows it's a class. You just have to give it the name of the class. Okay. So we're going to toggle hide whenever we click on the switch. So whatever has hide doesn't have hide. Whatever. Did I do that right? Yeah. Oh no, it's going to do it to this. So that's what I don't want. Okay, but I want it to, not this. Let's go, I have to make this a little different, sorry. So I need something that is similar. All right, let's call this, let's also give it text. So we're changing this, I'm changing this a lot at this point to make this work. So at this point, all we would have to do is actually take this transition off of that. Go do it. All right, this should work. Okay, I have that right. Control your transition. Setting that we're transitioning. That says the exact same thing. Okay. Should work. We're off the beaten path here. Yep. Oh, but it moved it over. Oh, that's why you have to keep it there for position. Damn it. Could change that too. Oh, but you know what? Actually, let's do not display none, but let's go visibility. Hidden. Because that will leave it in there for position, for flow. The div will still be there. So display none just takes it out completely, and that moved off over, which is not what I want to happen. I just want it to go invisible. So visibility is how you toggle that visibility. Whereas display is actually like whether or not it's drawing. So that should work. Let's do that. Yeah, that's what I want. All right, let's ease it. Let's go ease out, so it stays there just a little bit. All right, 200 milliseconds is really fast. Let's make it 1 second. See what that looks like. I feel like it's not transitioning the way. No, it is. 3 seconds. I feel like it's not really transitioning. Oh, because it's transitioning display, not visibility. Okay. It's so slow. 1 second. Okay, let's go back to our 200 milliseconds. Still really slow. Still feels linear. The problem with doing that is then it moves the position of the div, and then the other text, like off, depends on where on is, and on doesn't so much depend on where off is, but off depends on where on is, because we're not doing flex or anything on it. Even if we were doing flex, it would still depend because of the flow. And I haven't set their positions to be absolute. Right? You could set their positions to be absolute, but then you have to change all your CSS about like how they're positioned and stuff. I think it's the easing. I'm not sure. Oh, you know what it is? I want it to fade out, and that's not going to fade it out. That's just hiding it. So what we could do is change the opacity of the art. We could change the color. Like right now the color is a certain thing. It's white. So if we change, where's our text color right here? So if we change this to an RGBA, and we go 0, 0, 0, I just forget. Actually, you know what? Let's just use our color picker. So we go white, oh, 255, that's right. But we stick an A in there, and then we give it a value of 1, right? And then down here in our, okay, so we're going to transition color. I'm going to change this to color. Yeah, actually, this is a better way to do it. RGBA 255, 255, 0. That just changes the opacity of it to 0, so it makes it hide. And now we have control over whether or not it, like how it eases out. So let's change this back to 200. Oh, that's much better. Okay, do you see that difference? Like, look, you can see it like fade out, which is what I want to happen. Do you see that fade? I'll make it a little slower. Oops. Sorry, I have that like muscle memory of hitting Command S every time I make a change. So you see that fade? That's what I wanted. The visibility was just like on, off, on, off. There was no fade. But the fade is a nice like effect. And it's little, but it has, in my mind, it has a really, damn it. It really has a really nice effect. Like it feels satisfying to me. So making little changes like that, also good. You know, you feel like you can piece it together. All right, so that didn't take me very long to make that. That was what, 20 minutes maybe to do the next part. So,
Could you explain the nth thing?
yeah. So nth is just a placeholder, right? It's just a variable number. And so what it's doing is it's saying, here we go. So it's just saying, find the element article that has a class slide, and then for the nth child, which I put 1 in for the number, like this is the value. So for the first child that has class blurb, change the text color to this. For the second child that has class blurb, change the color to this. And then I'll do it for the third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth.
You can do that. They all are in that same slide class.
Right, slide. Yeah, slide is their parent. So we're just going down each of the slides, and then inside each of those different slides, the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, we're finding the element that has class blurb and changing the color on that. That's why the order for this is important. And the fact that there's a space in between these is really important, because it's saying find everything, that every element inside of slide that has the class blurb. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would the same thing work with IDs if they all
Yeah.
share the same ID?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's not just on classes. Yeah, if you have IDs nth child, that would work as well.
I mean, this whole project you just use classes.
Right. I think that's because we're trying to reuse a lot of code, and using class for declaration blocks that you reuse a lot, that where you have elements that share similar styles, is just best practice. IDs are more for if you have something that's only specifically being applied once that you want hard-coded into your HTML. We're changing a lot of stuff in just the CSS, so it makes more sense to just do it this way. And I need to double check actually what I just said about IDs having pseudo classes. And you know what? We're going to check it this way. I'm not using slide 2. I don't know why I put it on there. We're going to change this one to ID slide. Change this one to ID slide and see what happens. Hey. Yeah, it broke it. Okay, so that doesn't work. Oh no, it didn't break it. Colors are fine. So yeah, ID would work as well. You said that and I was like, oh yeah, and then I'm like, wait, I don't know that I've actually ever done that, so I don't know if that works. So yeah.
Why did the border break?
Because I had my border being applied down here through a class slide somewhere. Or maybe up here. Yeah, right here. Article class slide is where my border and padding and stuff was. Cool. All right. Okay. Well, that was that one. guess I could label them. Like, I'm not using it, but it's a nice like semantic label to have in there. So the next thing, I'm just gonna do the same thing this time. Copy that one. Alright. There we go. Oh, that's why. Did you not? So that's the danger if you do what I just did, because I don't have my closing article tag. If you collapse it and copy just that collapsed line, it might not always give you everything that you need. So be wary. Okay, did that time. So make sure that if you do collapse it and you copy that collapsed line, that your cursor does come down to the next line before you copy it, because you run the risk of not grabbing your closing elements or closing tags when you do that. When I had my cursor here, there's that little line ending symbol right here. That's what that little symbol means, little like L that's been flipped or turned 90 degrees or whatever. That is telling, that's saying that this line is done. Make sure you have that copied as well, because that looks like that's what contains that last closing tag on there. So if I put that there, yeah, that gives me my article. Slide 3. All right, I'm gonna save that for now and then come around. Let's see what you guys are doing. Oh, the second one. Okay. Yeah. So that you apply the tag to the instructions. It looks like it's not. Oh yeah, you got that off. So, but that's on the computer. This element says 17. So then you just this one. So you have the top. So it's better. I usually listen to his stuff twice a week. That goes on my hand. Yeah, I mostly because you want left and right hand. So just do one round. Use 5%. Kind of like all right. So there's some position stuff that's going on. I had this problem too when I was putting it together. We can see how I fixed it. So submenu. Oh, did you do the position absolute on the parent, Brian? The parent unordered list submenu. Because that position thing, I remember that was one of the kickers. Yeah, that's what lets you. You have that. That should do it. Does your yeah, so on this toggle, it's not sure.
Oh, okay. So,